Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are back again with another, hopefully, instructional video. And in this position, we have white to move. Now, first, let me tell you who is playing with. Was the Argentinian champ in 2005, 2009, 2012, and 2016. He's a 2600 rated player, 35 years old, born in Spain, or actually Las Palmas in the Canary Islands, but that's part of Spain. So very strong grandmaster with the white pieces. In this game, he was rated at 2568. And with the black pieces, uh, Axel Bachmann, also known as Axel Bachmann Schiavo. I think in those he's a Paraguayan GM, but also holds German citizenship. And but normally you'll see his name just listed as Axel Bachmann. I believe Schiavo is the middle name, even though when you read English sources, it will have the Schiavo at the end. Um, but he's a young GM also. Came in first at the 2015 uh, World Open. And so here we have it. This tournament was the from was the Jorge Smeaton Memorial Tournament. This took place last year in 2017, April 20th. And so here we had this position stemming from an English opening. After 14 moves, Diego Flores has to deal with the problem of how to defend this pawn. After some exchanges on e5, Bachmann has moved his knight to d7 and is now attacking this pawn. And there are basically two ways to attack, to support the pawn, either f4 or bishop f4. And so you can think about what you would do here. If you want, you could pause the video and contemplate the pros and cons of each move. But now I'm going to go on with the analysis. So first, let's look at the move f4. Personally, just glancing at the position, I don't like f4 because it's, first of all, it's very committal, commits the pawn structure and leaves weakness on the dark square diagonal c5 to g1, and it worsens this bishop. So that would be my thought right away. Okay, and of course everything has to be examined tactically also, because sometimes that's exactly the move you need to make. All right, but just looking at it, my first instinct would be no, not f4. So let's look at f4. So play, for example, could go f4, and here's issue right here. Bishop c5 check, right, will leave the dark square bishop looking a little suspect. For example, after e3, right, you see the bishop on d2 deteriorate somewhat. And let's say rook c8, queen a4, bishop c4, etc. Another option, instead of playing e3, of course, is just play the move king h1. And again, the move f4 has definitely benefited black a little more than it has white here. And again, the scope of this bishop has been decreased, and the king side has been weakened, as you can see with the king over here in the corner. Instead of bishop c5, black could also play b5 here with the same idea of exploiting the dark squares by playing the move queen b6, check, and then you have the same scenario. For instance, e3, rook a, c8, etc. So in the game, f4 was rejected in lieu of bishop f4. Now that is a precarious piece, because now, can we really argue that the bishop that was on d2 have been improved dramatically, or actually has it become worse? Is it just a glorified pawn at this point on f4? All right, so we have to ask ourselves that question. Um, so this position I can't say is too good for white here. However, black still has to be careful because with the pawn on e5 having that space, it's easy to fall victim to tactical blows by black in this. Excuse me, by white in this position. For example, if I see that bishop like that, a common move, say in the French defense, is often the move g5, and I can't really see how white would answer that move properly. Yes, now um, of course, black's king side is weaker, but again, sometimes you have to make moves like that um, in order to pressure point in the position. In this context, that central pawn on e5 is very valuable, and it is worth weakening the king side as long as white cannot profit off it. So, for instance, g5, bishop e3, knight takes e5, and of course, being a pawn down, white has no choice really but to try to attack. Knight c4, rook a7, bishop f6, e4, e5, real nice move. Bishop e3, keeping things closed. Queen a4, knight takes e3, and the game is still pretty much up for grabs. But I think g5 is worth a try here for black, although it's not a clear cut dry case. Um, in this position, Bachmann decided to play to use the term more classical in his approach. I guess he just piled up pressure on the pawn. He played queen c7, so now you have the knight and queen on c7 threatening the e pawn. So now he's asking the question to white: how are you going to protect? Well, Flores had a fantastic move up his sleeve here, and believe it or not, at this point, and this was a critical moment in the game, right here. At this point, after queen c7, white is actually better tactically. The better move was rook to c8. If you're not gonna play g5, which was probably the move that had to be played, rook c8 was probably better. Just putting some pressure down the c file. After queen c7, Diego Flores is able to reverse the tides. And now, after rook ac1, now there's threats of knight takes d5 with this old tactic of after queen takes c2, playing knight takes e7. Alright, so after rook ac1, now this threat of knight takes e5, excuse me, of knight takes d5 is set up. For example, if Bachmann tries to capture the pawn now, knight takes e5, then knight takes d5, threatening the queen, which is unprotected, and the bishop on e7. So queen takes c2, knight takes e7, and black is just a piece down. This is why Bachmann plays the move king h8, trying to renew the threat of now he's ready to take on e5. Flores plays queen d2, and now knight c5. And now the idea here with queen d2, of course, is on on knight takes e5. It's even more egregious now that the queen is moved out the way. So knight takes e5 is still not possible here. So back to queen d2. Even at this point, white's position is so powerful that he can play knight takes d5 here still. Queen takes, rook c2, and of course there's no in-between check here. But knight takes d5 still puts white in the driver's seat. So back to queen d2. In order to mitigate the situation with knight takes d5 happening, Bachmann decided to block the c file and play knight c5. Now the problem is that white just simply can play the move b4, and so this creates like the same scenario. Once the knight moves, then you have knight d5 again. However, Flores for some reason missed this move again. B4 is just the winning move. However, somehow he missed this move and played the move queen d4, which sets a trap. But it's not the best move, because by setting this trap, this allows Bachmann a way out. So Bachmann could just play queen d7, just stepping out of the way. And then now with b4, now the knight can just move. Okay, and white is still a bit better, but it's not as drastic as what actually took place. So after queen d4, queen d7 is definitely the black's best option. Instead, here he finally plays the move g5. Okay, and this move is a major error, because you can see the queen on d4, and this is the whole entire reason behind the move queen d4, is so that he can play this move knight d5. And the idea, of course, is if e takes d5, then e6 with this discovered attack on the queen here. And as you can see, black has no time to pick up the bishop. So after knight d5, Bachmann resigned in only 19 moves. So this was pretty pretty sloppy game, with errors on both sides of the board here. And I just wanted to show you this game, because this position after c takes d5 just looks so innocuous, and you wouldn't think of the game just being over in just 5 more moves, from this position. But yes, at the bishop f4, know that g5 is pretty much a must in this position. You have to challenge white there. And after this move, queen c7, rook a c1, king h8, queen d2, and even here, instead of knight c5, which was played, Bachmann could have played queen d8, but still white holds initiative at the e4. Right, he's just too his development is too good here, and there's nothing that black can really do. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that game. Please like, subscribe, comment, and all that stuff, and I'll see you soon on the next video.